ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special thematic hand review video for you today with a special guest. The one and only Clanty joins us on Carrot Corner. How's it going?
Doing well, mate. Thanks for having me on today. Looking forward to it.
We have a special theme because it is Black Friday. The Black Friday sale is live and we are offering 33% off, the biggest discount we've ever offered at Carrot Corner on all courses and bundles. And therefore, Luke, we are reviewing specifically hands the community has sent in where they punted or didn't punt with, you guessed it, pocket threes. Are you ready to give these hands a score out of 10 and ultimately pick the winner? The winning hand should be the best played hand, but it's a bit like gymnastics. You know, if you attempt something with a high difficulty, you score more points, right, for doing well. Whereas if you just c-bet a flop correctly, it doesn't mean much. Once you've picked the winner, that person who sent that hand in will win £1,000 of Carrot Corner vouchers to spend in the sale, out with the sale, whatever they want to do. No pressure, but there's a lot of training resources up for grabs here.
All right, let's do it. I didn't know about this, by the way, to YouTube, so this is all being told to me for the first time. Let's see it. Let's see some of these well-played hands, hopefully.
Okay, this hand is 100 NL. The community member opens 2.25 under the gun, and there's a 3-bet. From the cutoff, we call the 3-bet. Your thoughts?
Yeah, just mix it up, I guess. This is a fairly small 3-bet, so in there more times than not.
We check. They go for this very small sizing, just under a quarter, like 23% pot, something like that. And we bust out the check raise.
I'm going to be boring. I think you should just check fold this. Even though it's a small sizing, yeah, I feel like you are just supposed to fold this hand. Could be wrong. You do have pretty nice unblockers because he doesn't have any suited connectors around this, but I still think it's just a fold here. What is the sizing? Okay, so it's like 20, yeah, it's just shy of quarter pot, and maybe quarter with the rake. Yeah, I would have folded personally, but could be wrong.
Well, in for a penny, in for a pound, we follow through for half pot sizing on the turn. Thoughts on following through with threes here? Thoughts on sizing? What do you think about this bluff?
I think it's very good to continue. I would have gone bigger though, because you're saying to villain, you're essentially saying you've got ace king at this point. Realistically, ace queen, it's a bit thin to check raise barrel, maybe for exactly half pot. But if you think about your range, you could either go ace queen plus and go half, or you can just scrap the ace queen, go ace king, and then go like 28 big blinds. So I feel like that is more in line with what you're trying to tell villain. And hand choice, obviously I was critical on the flop, but if you did get here, seems like a nice hand to continue because you only block continues to the rare pocket, to the rare ace 3. And there's a bunch of auto folds because it was a small bet, small raise. So you can expect in position to have the nines through kings very often. So my only criticism here is it doesn't seem as polarized as what you're trying to tell villain here with the sizing.
Yeah, we're leaving a little bit extra than we need to SBR wise. We could probably just do that a bit sooner. And we have the 2 outs to the almighty massive implied odds nuts, which I think people sometimes miss when it comes to bluffing under pairs in these situations. Villain calls, and onto the 4 of spades river. What should we do?
Yeah, that's all she wrote, obviously. By the way, just on those implied odds, there is like pretty dramatic reverse implied odds to 4-5 here, which is interesting. 4-5 turns double gutter. But yeah, if you hit, you know, just kind of just worth noting that there's not massive implied odds. And yeah, if you get this far, you can't carry away now. You've kind of asked for a spade run out. You know, if you could ask for a better run out, it's pretty hard to find apart from if you see the 3 somewhere. So yep, shove. He does make a ton of ace X indifferent. You, of course, do block the ace 3 of clubs, but that's only one combo. He has more of the ace, jack, queen, kings with no spade. That should just be folding this run out realistically. So, yeah, it seems pretty good.
And we do, of course, go for it. It being 3-3 month at Carrot Corner, it'd be absolutely absurd to shy away here. And we get the fold. Okay, let's give this hand a score out of 10, please, Clanty. Bearing in mind the difficulty of the hand and how well the student fared technically. What are you going to give this one?
I would go 7.5. I feel like this is a very typical hand. If I could say so, this is going to sound very critical and maybe even condescending. I feel like it's a very typical low stakes hand for someone who studies theory, where they've seen these plays, but they may not know when it's good to do, when it's not good to do. And I obviously am going out of a limb here because it could just be a play. But I think if villain sized up a little bit on the flop, hero may have still done this, and that's where the problems can come in. So, and also the turn river are pretty easy. Let's be honest here. When you turn the spade and river the spade, I feel like it's just c'est la vie at that point. So really, it's just the flop that's technical, in my opinion. I don't think you check raise to check fold this turn, nor barrel turn, check fold river. So I think it does play itself.
Yep, I do think our audience though needs to be more aware of these mandatory bluffs, like what are the runouts that you're just going to follow through on. So even though it is obvious to you and to many players playing higher, I think that'll still be really helpful for people to hear that you do have to follow through for those reasons. Let's move on to hand number 2. Same community member, same starting hand pretty much, same sort of action, but this time the flop is 10 queen 8 and the sizing is half pot. I feel like this hand might not be winning any awards because sure as hell hero doesn't fold here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This one, I can be safely critical, if that makes sense. The first hand may be contentious because it might be like a mix. This hand, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's just a fold. And also, just on like an exploitative standpoint, this doesn't seem a good spot to attack either. Like villain is doing very comfortably well, so I would just steer clear of this.
Yeah, I'm always a bit terrified at stakes like 100 NL when people size up to like a bit of a non-standard sizing for them. Like most people 1/3 here. So this could just be the standard size, or it could be the size up, and if it's a size up, it's like even worse than the GTO scenario for us, essentially.
Yeah, and one thing as well, at the end of the last hand, I was mentioning how if imposition had sized up, he may have still done this. Then the next time we see this, and that's what I was alluding to, where there's a fine line where you can do pocket threes, and he may have been close last hand, but it's a big mistake if you're also doing the times that you can't do. And that's the problem between low stakes and high stakes, where I think at high stakes, if you see a pocket 3 check raise, you can safely assume that the guy is regulating frequencies and he's managing the spot. Whereas at 100 NL, it's a little bit like, okay, if you're doing pocket 3s, you're probably just bluffing too much because they don't regulate very well. They're either doing it too much or never at all.
Yep, makes sense. We get the 5 of hearts turn. We're now in a non-node. We're in a node we shouldn't be in. If you arrived on this node or one of your students did, how would you advise them?
Check fold. Open fold. Maybe not open fold.
You'd be surprised by the amount of times that ace king like doesn't bluff river in this pool. We get this one through. Your score?
0.
0 out of 10. That's probably going to be the worst hand today. What if we throw in he was trying to win the carrot corner £1,000 of vouchers EV? Or is the hand so bad that the EV of that is 0% of £1,000 worth of vouchers?
No, he gets like the when kids get the participation award badge, right? He gets that one, the pity score. So yeah, he gets a 1.5, 2, but I feel like he could have tried better. Can I say that?
Yeah, and we're adamantly against the participation awards at Carrot Corner. They are pathetic. We don't stand by them. We're here to win, guys. We're here to max EV. Next hand. Okay, so these hands were actually sent in by a Carrot Knight, which is a role you can get on Discord by being really active and helpful within the community and reaching a certain standard. These are 25 NL hands. I think this player normally plays higher, so I think they're playing a bit lower here. Maybe to try to go a bit insane with pocket threes, so this could be interesting. We have 3 hands from them. First one, we open cutoff, another 3-bet pot. This seems to be the theme today, and we call, this is just a masterclass in how to play threes when you don't flop a set in a 3-bet pot. So we get 7, 5 deuce rainbow, and we do get the check back this turn, and we get the king turn. How are we approaching a spot like this where the turn seems really favorable for button? It's their card, it's not our card. Are you playing a very high check frequency here? Are you playing any leads at all? If so, what sizing are you playing before we get to what to do with threes?
Well, at this stack depth, because you're very, very deep here, although conceptually it doesn't change much. If you're playing at 100 blinds, you go really big, minimum pot. And if you're at this stack depth, you go even bigger, minimum 25 big blinds, something like that. So conceptually, it's pretty similar. You're just checking a bit more. And the hands are really obvious. I think at this point, you are just playing 2-pair plus, because I think with this sizing, you can probably peel a hand like King 7 suited. You're very deep, and he made it very small. So I think you've got King 7 suited in there. And other than that, it's just a set. It's kind of a boring game, really, because there's no way you can start betting King Queen because in position's got Ace King and you're way too deep. So it's just a game of smash money in with sets and then balance with some straight draw, flush draw. And I don't think you get to do any pocket threes, at least of these colors, maybe with a club, but not without. I think club's very important here because you're super, super polarized. So without a super good hand, you check.
Yep. You're just in a very negative EV world for your range and your situation, and you have a hand that does have maybe a sliver of showdown and really quite bad redraw, and I would agree. I think betting here theoretically would be a pretty big mistake. We did check, and villain bets 3/4 pot, and it seems that we haven't folded because the hand's going to progress. Would you fold here? Would you ever consider doing anything else?
I would probably call exploitatively because I feel that imposition is supposed to bet wider than the king for this sizing. I think you're supposed to use some potentially ace seven if you did check it, potentially some pocket tens, pocket jacks. I think these hands should check because you're super deep, but I think population is way too greedy with an overpair on the flop and not greedy enough with an underpair on the turn. So if you fold here, you're basically saying he's got a king way too often, right? Because also some of these kings, let's face it, they can just bet flop. King, queen, king, jack are not awful C bets. So I think the solver is going to fold, and I would call.
I love it. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Their value range is just too narrow. It's too easy as well to just not think through your sizing at 25 at L and just have ace jack all the time here and stuff like that. Yep. What about that play?
Oh, he raises. That's really sick. I didn't even think about that. Not even crossed my mind. Well, this is obviously a very bad play in theory. I say obviously because you could just have other hands. But for the reasons I mentioned, calling being quite good, raising is also excellent because you're very, very deep here. Even if villain has king, ace king, it's not a great spot. It's not a particularly attractive spot where you get a good turn, you bet large, and the guy says good luck and check raises pot into your face. And if you call, there's going to be potentially another 1.7 buy-ins getting mashed into the hand. So I really, really like it. Kudos. This is my favorite hand so far.
We may well be onto a £1,000 worth of vouchers hand here. And we get it through right away. And I think just the implied fear here is gigantic for someone at 25 and L. How often are you playing deep? Like, you know the river's coming at a fair frequency. This is like fear of God for the price of the turn raise without even having to do anything on the river yet. It's like you almost get loads of the fear installed right here, right now.
Yeah. And also, last point, sorry, the ace kings of the world, which is what you're really worried of, can just safely bet flop. It's almost a value bet with the backdoor straight into overcards. So I think realistically, you're going to see more of the king jacks, queens, tens, nines than you are the ace kings as well. So really nice line.
Sometimes I see my job at Carrot Corner when we're taking like Clanty and Know Your Poker and we're trying to like make it Carrot Corner dilute, as it were. I'll sometimes say stuff like, well, at 25 and L, given I've taught like hundreds of these guys, do you know what I would actually say on that? Ace King is missed as a thin value bet all the time at these stakes and it's perceived as like middle showdown value. I actually think it gets checked more than King Queen, specifically at low stakes like 25. I think that's definitely true once people know what they're doing a bit more. Right, give this score out of 10. Luke, what are you going to give it?
I give it a 9 only because I've not seen what's to come, and there could be someone who is there could be someone who's even onto something better. But yeah, this is definitely a nice hand. I feel like as well, because of how absurd it is, they have to be on, like, how do I say it? Maybe there's even a term for it, but if something is so absurd, if something is so stupid, it's either done by a complete moron or someone who really knows what they're doing. And I'm gonna give the guy the benefit of the doubt that he's not just check raising, being an idiot, but probably very scientifically, can we say.
This guy does know what he's doing. He's a proven winner at like 100 plus, so he's not just a random button clicker, so I think that's the right call. Okay, next hand. Same hero, blind versus blind this time. Threes being in a bit better shape now against the polarized range. This kind of makes me sad though, because we're still not in great shape against out and out bluffs like Jack 5 or something. But hey, we're here. Can you fold pre against the big blind, small blind?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay. It's very close. And then Jack Deuce, we face just under half, like B40. Pure continue by call. Anything else to do here?
I would call. You've got so many other hands to raise instead here. And because the guy's so polar, you have more equity than you'd usually have. Let's say it's button versus cutoff. You have less equity because the guy's got more of those two overcards. But against the big blind here, who's got ace 4 offsuit, you don't need to turn this into a raise.
Yep, makes sense. 10 of diamonds turn. Very bad for hand and range as well. Villain continues. This looks like fairly near the bottom of the queue, unless you want to do something more exploitative here, or unless I'm missing something. What do you think?
I don't think you're missing anything. I mean, I would just fold personally. There's nothing that he's done that's like, he could have, you name it, he can have it. Ace deuce, pocket jacks, pocket aces, pocket kings, massive combo draw that you're not even, like king queen of diamonds here is got, I think it's even a favorite because of, maybe not, because actually, no, it's not. If it was jack deuce 10, I think king queen of diamonds is actually a favorite here.
Yeah.
So I would fold. I don't think there's anything to do theoretically or exploitatively.
Yeah, and that's because of the counterfeit possibilities for the audience, anyone's wondering. So yeah, I agree. we do call again. And another problem here is that even when villain has like queen 8 off or some bluff like this pre, they still have a ton of equity. So if villain's worst hands are still doing well against you, like it just can't be anything but what we call a grade C bluff catcher at Carrot Corner, that when you've identified your hand as a catcher, you can grade it A, B, and C based on the factors in grade 2 lectures 7 and 8. And you can get 33% off the entire Carrot Pro School and more during Black Friday sale. It's 3-3 month. Let's continue the 3-3 madness. We do get to the river. The 5 of spades falls and villain follows through here. A more reasonable call now than on the turn, perhaps? A reasonable bluff catch? What do you think?
I feel like there's two schools of thought. There's a clear, and you both are exploitative because you shouldn't arrive here, in my mind. The first school of thought is you always fold because you called the turn because you think he's under bluffing the river. And the other school of thought is you always call because you called the turn thinking he's going to overbluff the river. So it's just two almost before the 5 comes. You could see a 5, you could see a 4, you could see a 6, provided it's not an 8-9 queen king. So yeah, this should be based on a turn read, in my opinion, not based on the here and now.
Yeah, makes sense. And because we improve on so few rivers, we even end up having to fold rivers with the best hand because like the card is great for villain. It becomes an auto bluff for ace 4 on the queen and stuff like that. And we still don't get the showdown. So maybe just illuminating how bad the turn call was. Maybe we can downgrade the guy's other hand because this hand is so bad. Like we could take away his 9 out of 10. Maybe not.
I've given it now, but that's the, you know, I mentioned the whole like horseshoe theory of is he the genius or the moron? Well, I don't want to say it, but yeah, I was thinking he was the genius, but now it's a bit more questionable because I can't see a read here unless there's something extra like a timing tell or a game flow tell or something. This just seems like a fantastic board for imposition to have equity on. It's not hard to have a random jack. It's not hard to have a lot of equity, and I would just throw 3s in the bin for that reason.
Yeah. Maybe he's a moron who's capable of genius intermittently. Let's continue.
Yeah.
Kings.
Kings.
Okay.
I'm kind of glad that he lost it. Is that too harsh to say?
No, we want them
like
to suffer.
Sometimes you need to just like call and lose to be like, yeah, that was stupid. Let's not do that one again.
Yeah.
You know, if you won this, you would do it again until you lost.
Yeah. Bear in mind that these guys are probably trying to generate content for this episode, so it does have a bit of a twist. What are you going to give this 1 out of 10? Clearly, it's not going to be that great a score, but how bad is it going to be?
Don't know how to rate it. Because if something's bad, it's bad, right? I don't know, 5, 4,
okay,
something like that. Of course, there are bluffs in the guy's range. The other one with the queen 10, I feel like that one is complete lunacy. Sorry, the 3s and the queen 10 8, because your just visibility is so poor. At least in this case, there are loads of visible bluffs. So yeah, we'll give him a 5.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think the river's horrific by any means. I think turns bad. I think 5 is fair. Let's move on to the last hand of this player. The jury is out. This could be the decider as to whether this hero is the genius or the button clicker. 9-8-7, blind versus blind, the first single raise pot of the day. We face half here, just under half. What are your thoughts?
Just calling.
Yep.
Don't think raising's very good.
Hero agrees. We face half again on turn.
Quite like raising some of the time, just because your other bluffs, like let's say queen 10, king jack, king queen with a heart, I don't think they play very well as raises because they interact with a lot of this guy's check folding region. So and also a lot of players don't open the ace 3 offsuit, so your 3 only interacts with flushes, whereas for example pocket 4s would be worse because pocket 4s interacts with a few folds.
Yeah.
So I think 3s works quite well as a raise here.
That's such a Clanty point. Like, I love that. Like, just these little fine details, guys. This is what it takes to get to the top, noticing the difference between 3s and 4s in this spot. That comes from many hours of study done in the right way. I agree that raise is cool here. Like, your boat outs are now a bit more valuable. Given the pairing of the 8, this looks reasonable. We do call again, which also doesn't seem bad. And villain checks the river. The river has messed things up here. It has degraded showdown value of a lot of our catchers. Is this now a bluff in your mind?
I don't know. It's easy to think that we can get better hands to fold, but what better hands? Does he have a 9 that double barrels this board for half pot? I don't think so, unless he's got some extra redraw with it. Does he have jacks, queens, and kings? It's a little bit ambitious. Of course, it's not impossible. I'm not going to say there is no overpair check folds, but I feel like if you were to filter out of position to have an overpair on this board, I think he doesn't take the bet the majority of the time.
Yep.
So there is not that many hands we can get to fold unless you're targeting 6-5 or a 10, but that would no. I think a 10 should just always block. You can't go bet bet check fold. I think you should go bet bet block and then cry. So I'm going to say that we should. I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like you can just go. The thing is, I don't think it's a mix. I think this has to be a pure bet or a pure check, and I just don't know where that lands.
So, well, a couple of 25-0 reads that I would maybe use here when coaching. First, I do think people bet made hands that are quite weak. I think people underreact to texture and relative hand strength in a major way at 25-0 in general, that when they have an overpair on the turn here, because neither the straight or the flush got there, and they know villain has draws in range, the natural sort of amateur impulse, I think, is to bet again with a hand like jacks or queens or something like that. I would expect those hands to be a bit overrepresented in range, which does make me consider bluffing river. That said, I just think there's quite a lot of showdown value with threes here, because I just wouldn't be too surprised if people gave up king jack now, gave up ace of hearts, king of hearts. I just think I think check just might be far too good, and I think like we might just need, like, of the better hands in villain's range, are we getting it through against them that often? I don't know. My other thought is like people don't trap enough on river. They just don't put the trap check in here either, so that might make it good. I don't know. The jury's out in my mind as well. I could go either way here. Let's see what hero does.
For what it's worth, I wouldn't be so sure about they don't trap out of position, because this actually seems like a great situation to trap with a boat. It's not your conventional spot. So what are you trapping against? A straight, a super straight, and a flush, and maybe even a lower boat, but whatever, that kind of plays itself. So on average, I would say yes, a bet check line is going to be very, very underprotected, virtually no check raises. But on this exact texture, if you've got 8-7, I do think it's a pretty natural check on river. There's so many flushes. Well, basically all flushes will bet and maybe pay you off. And there's a lot of bluffs that probably won't put money in if you bet, but they'll virtually always put money in if you check. I'm not talking pocket threes. I'm just talking a random like king, jack, king, queen with a heart. So I wouldn't be shocked if out of position has a check shove here, actually.
Yep.
Doesn't seem impossible.
Yep, no, I think it's more likely on this board than in general, but I just give 25-0 players very little credit. Having worked with loads of them, no disrespect at all, it's just one of the things they're incredibly bad at in general, but I do agree that in this texture they're more likely to find it than on others. Okay, score out of 10 for this one, Clanty.
This one seems pretty good. 7, yeah. Middle of the road. I'm definitely going to have to run this later on whether it's a bluff. I also wanted to extend on your thoughts, which is if you believe that the overpair region is overrepresented, then I would definitely bluff always, because there's just way too many hands you sigh and lose against that you definitely get to fold, because I don't think there's really any way they check call here. But in theory, I'm very curious. We'll go with 7. Yeah, it's because he didn't raise anywhere. I feel like in order for a really good score, you need to see a raise, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Okay, 9 still the score to beat. Let's crack on with the next hero. Right, next hand, different hero, a new dawn, a new day. We're in the big blind. The diamond and spade trays. We defend. We get 8 deuce king, all blue. Villain bet small. Mixing any raise here?
No, I would use different hands.
We call
like 8-7 and things like that.
Queen of hearts on turn. They check. How far down are we here?
Not far down enough in my mind.
2x pot. What do you think of this exploitatively?
Yeah, very good. Actually, so there is a lot of natural king X in this guy's range, big UTG's range. Small bet flop, check turn on the monotone texture. Even hands like ace king, I believe, are going to get checked. And I also think they may be over stubborn here, facing such a large sizing. So I'm actually not so much of a fan, just because your bluffs are quite visible. And they also might think, well, you're representing mostly a flush and you probably raise a flush. So yeah, you know what? If you were to look at the average spot on small bet, check, overbet bluff, it's very, very profitable. But on this board where there's quite a lot of natural king X and queen X and stubbornness, I actually don't like it, to be honest. I'm pretty sure check is better.
Interesting. Do you think there's a, like, if we're very sure that villain isn't finding many flush checks on the turn, there wouldn't be loads in theory, but there might be some, say blocking the queen, that might be a check sometimes, let's say. If we don't think villain is ever checking those hands, is there a sizing you could increase to here that you think breaks that stubbornness and again becomes higher EV than check, or do you think it just gets too expensive and that doesn't exist?
Yeah, I like the question. I don't think there is personally. From my experience, I've done a lot of, I call this bullying basically, and I've done a lot of bullying in my lifetime. And I just think on the ace high textures, king high textures, I just realized what I said
I
there.
love it.
Yeah, I've done so much bullying in my lifetime that the ace high and king high textures are just not good ones to attack. So I just don't think this is profitable. I also think that there's a good chance that villains call too many top pairs here,
Hmm.
compared to Solver. I think Solver just lets these hands go,
Yeah.
but don't think heroes do.
Yeah, I think the cornered animal, the victim, is most dangerous when it has like something that can be perceived as a weapon, like a king, and they've checked the turn with a king, and that can put them into that fight sort of limbic system state for sure. I just love the idea of you like going around like your childhood and adolescence, just bullying everyone. It's not how I picture you, but it's kind of a funny thought, like taking other kids' marbles and stuff. All right, score out of 10 for this one. We do get called by fives. That's an even wider bluff catch than you were anticipating, but the point stands. This was a cornered animal. He thought you had the ace of diamonds.
Yeah, like I said, the bluffs are visible, and as to your point, if he feels cornered and he sees bluffs, it's quite hard to fold, especially if he knows you and he knows that you can bluff. So I feel like he tried here, and I get the logic. If this is not a king high board or an ace high board, it's a lot more profitable. So good heuristic to viewers is if you want to bully people at the tables, then just don't attack these high boards as much as you would if this was a 9-8 deuce texture.
Got you. Give me a number out of 10.
I'm gonna go 6.
Well, guys, that's the abrupt end of this video, unfortunately. There's no easy way to say this, but the footage we recorded after that point wasn't usable due to a disagreement, actually more of an argument. It got a bit heated between me and Clanty. He said a few things about my game that I wasn't very happy with, and I felt like, it might just be my opinion, you know how sometimes you can see things your way, the other person sees it the other way, but I just felt like his remarks were derogatory and they upset me, to be totally honest, and I thought we were friends, but apparently not. Anyway, I don't think Clanty and I will be talking for a while or recording part 2 anytime soon, so in the meantime, do head over to carrotcorner.com, make the most of the Black Friday sale. It's still 33% off, and the good news is that that's all bullshit and we actually recorded part 2 and you can watch it in a few days' time as the sale is coming to a close on the 3rd of December. Find out then if there's a hand that can top that 9 out of 10. Of course, Clanty and I didn't fall out. Clanty's lovely. He would never bully people for his entire life or anything like that.
And I've done a lot of bullying in my lifetime.